This is me, Raphael. Sister Olivia was a good friend to us that day, and for reasons that will be clear soon enough, we did not see her again to say thank you. Writing this is a way to say thank you, and one day maybe we will meet again and say it the way we need to say it. I am so sorry for deceiving you, sister. I must talk about what we did while Gardo was in the jail, which was important. Then I will hand over to Rat and write for him. You see, he and I decided to do something too, because it was hard sitting waiting and waiting all day, and I've not felt right since the police station. I cannot stay still, and everyone is looking at me always. We took the letter again and stole off by the canal to a place nobody goes, a place I felt safe in, and you could see people coming. We squatted down and went over the newspaper cuttings again, me reading them out all the way through. I read the letter too, which was coming apart in my hands by now. We both knew it almost by heart, since we'd been helping Gardo remember it. Even the jumble of numbers stuck on at the end. Those names again, coming at us. Jose Angelico, the man killed in a police station. He felt like a brother to me now, and I was dreaming about him. Gabriel Alondres, his friend in Culver Prison, and now the fat Senator Zapata. When I read the line about Senator Zapata, Rat stopped me and made me reread it. If only you could go to Zapata's house now, it would make your soul sing. What's that mean? Said Rat. I didn't know. We'd all been saying that every time we read it. I don't know, don't know, don't know. Where's his house, though? Maybe we should visit. Green Hills, I said. Everyone knows that. Same place as Jose Angelico. The senator was a famous man, and everyone knew he had a place out there, just beyond the city, big as a town. Everyone knew he was rich and old, and I'd seen his fat face in the papers I hooked up, oh so often. Papers that more often than not wrapped up the stoop. Everyone knew he owned big pieces of the city. There are only 5 or 6 families who do out here, and his name was on streets, on a shopping mall in the fancy part of town, and in rising skyscrapers. He was a big man in every way. Vice President for 2 years and his smiling face everywhere. It was Rat's idea to pay him a visit, and I liked the idea, if only to get me out of Bahala. Why would seeing the place make your soul sing? Said Rat. We wondered and agreed that taking a trip might tell us. It seemed to me the problem would be the usual one, money for the bus. I'd given everything to my auntie, so I was broke again. Rat said to me, it's okay, I've got enough. I have to say I don't believe him. I said, how have you got anything? I didn't say it to be mean, it's just that he's about the poorest looking boy on the dump site, so the idea that he had more than a peso made me smile. He smiled right back at me and shook his head. I've got more than you think, he said slowly. Come with me and let's see who's poor. And that was when I came to learn a few things about Rat that I had never known and never asked about. We cut back to the trail that takes you back to the disused belt number 14, checking the whole way that nobody was watching. I was still feeling scared, whatever I did now. I could not shake it off, and I was always watching behind me. So when we went down the steps and the rats flew up, I cried out and he had to hold me like a little kid. How do you live down here? I said. It was the most disgusting place on the whole dump site. He just laughed. It's the best house I ever had, he said. You don't like it because you're lucky. You always had a house. I don't know how you stand it, boy. They don't bother me, I'm telling you. You get some that are friendly. What about at night? I said. They never take a bite out of you. Rat laughed at me. They have a sniff, okay. Maybe, when I'm sleeping. But what are they going to bite? There's no meat on me. He lit a couple of candles. I could hear scufflings in the wall and mewling yelps. There's a nest somewhere, I said. I wouldn't sleep down here if you paid me. There's always nests everywhere. That's a big one though, okay? They kept me awake last night. Must be hundreds of them. Oh, and by the way, that bag. What about it? Just the thought of the bag, and I froze up. You can tell the police to come down here and look, because the bag's gone, Raphael. 2 nights and they'd eaten it. The wallet too. Chewed up and disappeared. He was rocking a brick backwards and forwards gently. Then he turned and looked at me, suddenly serious. By the way, I better trust you. I just better trust you, and you better be good to trust. I know you're going to tell Gardo, but you tell nobody else. Tell what? I said. I had no idea what he was saying. I'm just thinking. Here you are, and here's me, showing you all my secrets. You could rob me blind now, you and Gardo. What would I do then? He was fierce, but all I could do was laugh at him. Not to be mean, but the idea of robbing Rat was crazy. What's there to rob? I said. A little pair of shorts, and you're wearing them. Rat started to laugh right back at me. It was a high-pitched squeak of a laugh. The brick was on the floor now, and he was reaching into the space behind. Carefully, with his thin fingers, with the rats going crazy all around us, he removed a small metal box, not much bigger than a cigarette carton, and closed up tight. He set it between his feet and opened it. He grinned up at me. Not much to rob, huh? You want to see what I've got? I've got more than you think. But what's in there? Buried treasure, boy. 2,326 pesos. My going away fund. Sure enough, he showed it to me, counting it out. I think the amazement must have shown in my face because he started laughing again and rocking on his heels. I got one more box just for day-to-day stuff. One more tin box, that is, so the rats don't eat it. 260 in that one. I figure today we're on a kind of holiday, so I'm going to borrow out of this one, the travelling box. But how do you get so much? I said. I was totally amazed. 2,000 was a fortune for boys like us. I get it slow and I keep it. Everyone gives me a little. The little piles up and I don't eat much or I get given food. Sister Olivia, for instance, she gave me 50 just yesterday and then I went back for a sandwich. What are you saving for? Rat put his head down and seemed to be thinking hard. Then he crept to the steps and took a long look up them, like he really thought there might be someone listening. He came back and squatted, put a banknote in his pocket and closed the lid of the box. Then he put his hands on my shoulders and looked right in my eyes. You and me are friends now, he said. Right? I nodded. Real friends? He said. Of course, I said. Okay, I'm going to tell you something I never told any other boy. I told Olivia, made her promise to tell no one, just because I was so tired of never telling. He dropped his voice to a whisper. A rat ran over his foot in the darkness, right between us. I had to force myself to keep still. I'm not from round here, he said. You know that, don't you? Like, most of you are Bahala boys, but I came from the south. I was at Central Station for nearly a year, and I heard about the mission school, so this is where I came. I nodded again, and he was quiet, like the secret inside was so big he couldn't say it. I want to go home, Raphael, he said. He was so quiet I could hardly hear. I came off the islands when I had to. I want to go back. Where's your home? San Paulo. That's where I was born. Go home then, I said. You can go home with 2,000, can't you? The ferries cost, I don't know. He snorted and I shut up. I can go home on the ferry, sure. Go tomorrow if I want. And then what when I get there? It costs 1,000 just for the ticket. What happens then? You think people in San Paulo live on sand? That's why everyone comes here, man. That's why I came here. That's why I got sent here. I've got to make a stake. 50,000 is what I need. Then I buy a boat and I go home and I fish forever. You can fish? I said. Of course I can fish. I was fishing before I could talk. I could swim before I could crawl. I will buy a boat and I'm going to fish and fish and fish. I looked at Rat then because he sounded so fierce, and that wide-eyed, old little face looked back at me. I tried to imagine him back on his island, San Paulo, steering his fishing boat, throwing out the lines. I've heard of the place, of course, and had never known it was Rat's home. It was a place people talked about, and I knew it was a long, long way away. Tourists went there, and it was supposed to be as beautiful as paradise. You cried when you got there, you cried when you left. That's what people said. With a boat I can fish, he said. That's got to be better than what we do here, hasn't it? Huh? Little house on the beach? He was looking at me hard. Fishing boat out in sand? None of this stink? None of this crazy way to make a living? You, me, Gardo too. All of us maybe. Sun comes up, we're already out. Been out all night, maybe. You think about it. I can't fish, I said. So what? He said. I'll teach you. Cook what you need, sell the rest at the market, grow flowers. I had a sister grew flowers right out of the sand. You like the thought of that? We'd need more money, I said. We'd need to buy 3 boats, not one. Yes, said Rat. Maybe so, but it was quite a moment, thinking hard. Whatever happens, we can't stay here much longer, can we? I felt him touch my face very softly. I don't know, I said. I guess we've got to wait and see what happens. You can't stay here, Raphael. You'll always be thinking they're coming back for you. I was still swollen up and bruised, but the cuts were healing. My ribs were aching from when they hauled me back in through the window, and every time I touched them I felt sick again. So yes, I did know what he meant, but how he knew it I didn't know. That time with the police had changed everything, and people seemed different now too. People were looking at me strangely, like I'd brought bad luck. They'd all been pleased to see me back safe, but my auntie was scared and I was scared. There was something else too that I'd never told Rat because I was ashamed. It was sleep. I was finding sleeping hard. I was having nightmares and waking up crying. I'll tell the truth, I said I would. I was wetting myself too. I would wake up with Gardo holding me like I was a baby, and the cousins waking up scared, crying out, and the neighbours banging on the walls because I was screaming too loud. I think Auntie wanted me out, and I didn't know what to do about it.